Good evening, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Backmaker Battles. I'm your host of the ARCA Racing Podcast, Start and Park, Currey Gets, Colby Evans. Welcome back to another episode of Backmarker Battles. Like I just said, we have a big show for you guys this weekend. COTA, man, this track this weekend has been hyped up for weeks and months. And, man, the entry lists, the anticipation, it's not lying, man. This is a big weekend. We got a lot of backmarker stuff to talk about, DNQs, lower budget teams bringing in the road ringers, owner point situations. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. So enjoy that part of the show. And then, of course, we got our Atlanta review. Atlanta wasn't very kind to some of the backmarker teams. A lot of them really struggled, but a couple snuck through for a great run. So like I said, guys, we got a big show for you guys today. I don't know how long we're going to be here. We could be here for an hour. So if you guys are here for the whole hour, I welcome you all to join me. So you guys know the drill, of course. Follow me on social media, Twitter at Start and Park Car. Like and subscribe to the channel. We just we're about just a couple subscribers away from 1,040. Thank you again, guys, for getting us to 1,000 subs. To be at 1,038, man, so rewarding. Can't thank you guys enough for your support. And again, check out theracingexperts.com for all NASCAR media related content. So let's get right into it, shall we? Atlanta. I don't really like the new Atlanta. I'll be up front about that. I'm not a big fan of the Atlanta track. The truck race man was a little hard to watch. We had a lot of felt like crash after crash after crash. And again, no practice, no qualifying, because qualifying was, of course, rained out, and there's no practice because it's considered a plate track now. So there's no sense in running practice at a track where you're just going to run wide open. To an extent, I understand that, but I feel like in general, maybe a 30-minute warm-up session would not be a bad idea. I feel like we could get around to that. Maybe that would be a better option. Only 36 trucks. Nobody went home. We kind of said that last week. The 34 truck, again, was kind of the interesting truck that I was going to look at. And sure enough, one of the cool guys who takes pictures, David Pequeen. I strongly suggest you guys go give him a follow on Twitter. He does a lot of charts. He does a lot of lower budget team pictures. If you guys like getting the lower budget team pictures, like really, really nice high resolution pictures of these low budget cars, David is your guy. He's really, really good at what he does. And he got some pictures of the 34 truck, and it was indeed the exact same truck that Josh Rayom, the owner of the team, ran at Las Vegas. It was the exact same truck and appeared to have the exact same issue. The car, or the truck, had trouble staying in gear. Fourth gear, might I add. And at a track where speed is important, like Atlanta, once again, the 34 truck combined in the last two races has made, I think, only, 10 laps in the last two races. Now, could you consider it a start and park? I would say yes, but from listening to them on the radio at Las Vegas and here, it sounds like it's a legit issue. But you figured, well, wouldn't you have gotten that fixed by now? I don't know. So could the 34 be technically a start and park field filler entry? To an extent, yes. It's not hurting anything. It's not sending a full race truck home. So, and if it fills up the field, it fills up the field. So, but if it was trying to run the full race 2 races in a row, I just find that a little odd. That 2 races in a row, the 34 is done very, very early in the race. Like I said, the race went on. We had our stages, more cautions. No real big crashes, though. It was just kind of for stupid spins and small crashes. No real big ones until, of course, the very end. The other backmarkers that did struggle in this race, the 20 of Mason Maggio, he hit the wall a couple of times during the race. Eventually retired on lap 52. Been a rough go for Mason so far this year. DNQ at Vegas in the MBM car, and an early exit here. Caden Honeycutt, man, I felt for Caden Honeycutt. By the way, shout out for Roper Racing. In case you guys did not know, Corey Roper has been reinstated by NASCAR. He was suspended just before the truck race at Daytona, but luckily has been reinstated. So that is good news for Roper Racing. Corey's a cool guy. I knew that this indefinite suspension would not last because we all know Corey's a cool guy in the garage. He would never do something that stupid. But I felt for Caden Honeycutt, man. Right as he led his first lap, I think he said he ran over something on track or on Twitter. He said they ran over something on track. And, man, I felt for that organization. You go out there, you finally lead your first lap, and then the truck breaks. Like, oh, what bad luck. I mean, they got him back out. He finished the race 11 laps down, but, God, that is heartbreak. And, as of now, they still only plan to run the first 6 races, and that's it. They don't have sufficient sponsorship for the rest of the year. I'm sure they want to keep running. I hope Caden can find a ride. Caden's a very good driver, but at the end of the day, sponsorship is kind of everything at this point in the game, and it sucks if they don't continue after race 6, because Caden can get it done, and Roper Racing has a very good operation. They just need more funding to go along with it. And, that was kind of it in terms of underdog crashes and struggling. We did have the 46 of Akinori Ogata. Shout out to him, by the way, for his lack of experience on these bigger tracks. Sorry if you hear some rumbling. My mom's doing the dishes right now, so the pipes run directly towards this room. But contrary to that, Akinori Ogata in the 46 was running a good race all day, had stayed on the lead lap. The entire race was kind of lagging on to the back of the lead pack. And unfortunately, just kind of made your classic mistake at a plate track, over-correcting off of a turn. Spun, did hit the wall, but didn't kill it. Luckily, they were able to beat the damage back out, get their laps back, and Akinori actually recovered for a lead lap finish inside the top 20. And, as the race went on, we continued to have our dumb crashes, rack them up, race them again, rack them up, racing them again. Until we had our last couple of crashes. Nice Motorsports had a kind of a rough race despite one of their trucks getting a good finish. The 42 and the 45 wrecked out late in the race. Poor Lala Salin. He has had a very, very rough start to the year. I mean, that truck has just virtually no points, and their runs have not been good. Hocevar, well, that's Carson Hocevar for you. He either runs well or takes himself out running well, so that's pretty much been the story of his career. Other backmarkers that did struggle, the 33 of Mason Massey, they had to pit under green for some reason. Not really sure why, but that cost them some laps. Colby Howard broke a track bar with 3 laps to go. That cost them a top 20 finish. Josh Rayom was actually driving the 22 for AM Racing in their truck efforts. He was just kind of running by himself the whole race. It was kind of one of those take whatever you can get kind of finishes. Sometimes a team that's going to run the whole race, but kind of will stay out of trouble, basically will just run by themselves and take wherever they can finish. And that was kind of what the 22 team was. So they'll take it. 23rd, we'll take it. And of course, we had that big last lap melee. Everyone watched it, last lap melee. And boy, you talk about the underdogs coming through. And I'll give them credit. Both of them were running up there. They just took advantage of that wreck to get even better finishes. Bailey Currey, man. Bailey Currey, after getting released from JD Motorsports, man, that was sad to see. But, man, did he take advantage of this opportunity, getting a top 5 finish. Top 5 finish for Nice Motorsports, man, in their 41 truck. And from what I heard from some other reporters, Bailey does have more races lined up for this year, so that's even better for Bailey. I think we're all Bailey Currey fans. We all want to see Bailey succeed, and man, it's very heartwarming to see a guy like Bailey after that really struggling loss to be able to recover and get that top 5 finish. And then of course everybody's favorite underdog, Timmy Hill, man, Timmy Hill getting a top 10 finish. Initially was scored 7th, but after some restructuring after the caution period, again, why are we throwing a caution 200 feet from the finish line? I don't know why. I really don't understand why. You're not going to get the safety vehicles there any faster by throwing the caution 200 feet from the finish line. So I'll never understand that. I will never will. I don't think there's an excuse for it. You're not going to get this safety equipment out there any faster. So just let him run it to the line. But he was scored 8th. Still a great run for that organization. And then, there were some more good runs outside the top 10 as well. We had Brett Holmes. That team finally gets a decent run after their struggling start to the season. And 13th, Ryan Vargas, his very first Truck Series start, and the return of On Point Motorsports in 14th. Great run for them. Chris Wright didn't crash. I'm as shocked as you guys are. But good for them. 15th place for Chris Wright. Like we mentioned, Akinori Ogata, very solid 17th place finish for G2G, despite the damage to the truck. So some great runs for the underdogs. This past weekend at Atlanta, despite the race not being very good. Also, shout out to Bill McNally's team. Great to see them finally get a win. You know, you talk about all the Kyle Bushes, the Thor Sports, the Tricon wins, and it's good to see a team like McNally step up there with a great driver behind the wheel in Christian Eckes and getting that win, man. You know, that's been a long time coming for that 19 team, and definitely a feel-good win for sure, because everybody knows how hard Bill has worked in the then Winston West Series, K&N West Series, ARCA West Series, to move up to trucks and to now get his first win. Good for Bill. Good for Bill and that whole 19 team. And as we move into this weekend, I'm going to do a little bit of restructuring for Backmarker Battles. We're going to do series by series. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the COTA truck race now. Now, the owner points coming into this race, like I said, with those good runs, it did restructure the owner points just a little bit. For the entry list for this race, we have an astounding 39 trucks. So that means we're going to have DNQs for the first time since Daytona. 39 trucks for 36 spots. And we do have some unique entries for COTA. Notable, the number 8. Yes, Nemco Motorsports for the first time in over 2 years. Nemco Motorsports, Joe Nemechek, and Samuel Lemcote. Not best with pronouncing of names, but he attempted the race last year for G2G in the 47. They will be returning and running the 8. Samuel has run for Joe in the vintage circuit, vintage speed tour circuit. So cool to see Nemco back. You know, Joe is going to be 60 this year. And, you know, he's not a young guy anymore, but we all love Front Row Joe. It's just great to see that organization back, but the pressure will definitely be on them as they show up with no points, no provisionals, no nothing. You either make the top 31 or you're going home. Other notable entries, of course, we have the 75 of Parker Kligerman, but what else do you expect? You know, road ringers. They're always competitive on the road courses. They won Mid-Ohio last year, so not shocking to see the 75 on the list. Dale Quarterly, you know, I think we can all say it together. Raise hail orderly, praise Dale Quarterly. I mean, gotta love him. In his 60s now, still going. He'll be driving the 46 for G2G Racing, but note, this is Dale's own truck. It is an XKBM Toyota that will be fielded under G2G Racing. So this will be Dale's equipment with G2G's support. Other notable entries, we have Mason Filippi. The 34 is entered again with Mason Filippi. In the 34, that's a great pick for them, considering the 34 is one of the lowest trucks in owner points right now. Colin Garrett, On Point Motorsports returns. Colin Garrett returns to the 30. Logan Bearden is in the 22 for AM Racing. Ed Jones, remember Ed Jones? Got a top 3 finish in the Indianapolis 500 a while ago. Don't know where he's been the last couple years. But Ed Jones from the IndyCar circuit joins Young's Motorsports in their 20 truck. Great pickup for that organization. It's so cool seeing so many open wheel stars from Formula One, from IndyCar, coming over to NASCAR, even if it's just for one-offs, and the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and Cup Series. We have seen this so much the last couple years, and it's awesome. And, you know, I feel for Ed Jones. You know, he got that great run in the Indy 500, then he had that stint at Ganassi, didn't go very well, and that was kind of it for him. But the 20 truck sat on the pole last year with Sheldon Creed, so they clearly got speed in those trucks. And I'm really curious to see what Ed Jones can do for a team like Young's. Other notables, we got Taylor Gray, not low budget, but Taylor Gray will be making his first start of 2023. He will be running the rest of the year because by then he'll be turned 18 and will be allowed to run the rest of the season. Alex Bowman will be in the 7 for Spire again. So good to see the Spire team back. And yeah, that's pretty, excuse me. And that's pretty much it for the new entries. Everything else is pretty much the same of what you would expect out of the full-time truck points. Right now, the trucks coming in that are on the hot seat, I would say, for making the race, obviously the 8, because they got no points whatsoever. The 34, Mason Filippi, because they are literally last in owner points. The 75 and the 7 are both pretty low in points, but we know they'll have plenty of speed to make the show. And that would put the next couple of trucks, the 04 of Roper Racing, the 45 of Nice, and the 5 of Tricon. Now, you look at last year's qualifying results. The 45 was able to time in to the top 31, and so was Dean. But Dean Thompson last year was not able to. Can Caden Honeycutt get the 04 in on time? That would be the one thing to notice. But right now, the trucks really on the hot seat right now, I would say, are the 04, 34, and the 8, because they are technically regarded as the lowest in points, and if not making the top 31, would likely not get a chance at a provisional. Other trucks in jeopardy, like I said, the 45 of Nice, the 5 of Tricon, the 12 of Young's, and I'll even go as high as the other Rayom truck, the 33. Obviously, qualifying at these races can be so critical. I mean, with how big this road course is, I mean, you could hit your marks perfectly in the S's, but then, you could be on the back part of the track. You screw up your lap, you're done. And, that's the one interesting thing about these road courses. All it takes is one corner to screw up your whole lap. Like, your whole lap can be screwed, especially if you miss the apex going into that one corner before the really, really long back straightaway. I don't know my turns at COTA, so I'm sorry about that. But you guys know what I'm talking about. That one last corner you take before you have that really, really long back straightaway. I mean, if you screw up that corner, you're going to kill your back straightaway speed, which is going to kill your lap. So DNQ picks, since this is a one-off, Samuel has been running COTA for a long time in both Trans Am and the vintage racing circuit. So I'm not going to put him on my DNQ list. I think with this being a one-off, Joe and them are going to come with the best equipment possible. So I'm actually going to say that the 8 will make the show. I think the 34 will miss the show. Not slow. I just think, the Rayom trucks have known to be kind of slow. And I think even with a guy like Mason behind the wheel, I just don't see it happening. Not by a lot, but I mean, I think Mason will probably be about 33rd, 34th, probably on time trials. So I'm going to take the 34 as my first pick. And it sucks because I got a lot of friends who work for Josh Rayom. So sorry, guys. I love you guys, but I'm sorry. I'm going to have to pick you guys. So I'm taking the 34. I'll take the 34. Unfortunately, I'm going to take the 04. I love Caden Honeycutt, but unfortunately, I don't see the 04 having enough speed. And I'm going to go with a little bit of a wild card entry for my last one. I'm actually going to take the 5. I think Dean Thompson and Tricon, they haven't had the best starts of the season. I'm actually going to take the 5 truck of Tricon as my third DNQ pick, because he did not qualify in the top 31 at last year's race driving for Nice. Now, obviously, Tricon is a step up from Nice Motorsports, but still, just because it's a step up in equipment doesn't mean you're any better at road racing. And so it's kind of a wild card pick, but I'll say, and the reason why I don't pick the 12 is because in last year's truck race, Spencer Boyd actually managed to time himself into the show on speed. He didn't need a provisional, or else he probably would have went home. So I think the 12 is going to be fine. So I'm actually going with the 5. I'm going with the 5 to not make the show. The race itself is going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, Dakota truck races are always wild and wacky. Like I said, low-budget road ringers, Logan Bearden, Ed Jones, Dale Quarterly. Really curious to see how Dale does, considering that is an ex-KBM truck. It's a very, very good truck. We know Dale is a good road racer. So I would at least, hopefully, we can get a top 20 out of him. That's for sure. Even though this is Backmarker Battles, I always like to give a race pick race winner pick. So if I wanted to give a race winner pick, I will go with the number 1 of Kaz Grala for Tricon. I'll go with Kaz Grala in the number 1 Tricon entry to win the race. If you guys wanted me to pick one, you guys can put a truck pick win in the chats if you want as well. So that is Truck Atlanta, and that is Truck COTA. Like I said, guys, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I think we're going to see some surprising DNQs. And, you can say it'd be kind of weird to see the Tricon truck go home, but at the same time, it wouldn't shock me at the same time. It really wouldn't. So now, guys, we move on to Xfinity. And boy, we thought the truck race was a mess. And then came the Xfinity Atlanta race. Holy crap. I don't know what to say about this race. Watching it live, it was hard. It was really hard. First off, being an MBM fan, it hurt on lap 1. We'll get to that in one quick second. We had 39 cars for 38 spots with no practice and qualifying, of course. No qualifying meant that the 74 CHK goes home again. Unfortunately for CHK, they suffer yet another DNQ. Again, out of not in their control, but they were kind of my DNQ pick anyway. I wouldn't think that they would have had the speed to make the show anyway. But yeah, the Xfinity race, it was a little hard to watch. I'm not going to lie. Started right off the gate, man. I tell you, this was not a good race for some of the backmarker teams. Right off the bat on the first lap, the 66 of Baccarella, who was driving for MBM. This was an Alpha Prime entry under MBM Motorsports because the 42 that they were going to run would have failed to qualify had they entered it because of rain. So this was an APR entry fielded under MBM Motorsports. And, man, right at the end of the first lap, you saw it right on the replay. I don't know if they specified which axle it was. The car broke, turned to the left immediately, and poor Joey Gase, which was right next to him. No, none of the fault of either drivers. The car was out of control, and Joey Gase was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. And Joey took a hell of a hit, man. That car is tore up. And, for Emerling Gase Motorsports, a team like them can't really afford that. They had that crash with CJ at Las Vegas, and they have a destroyed, and I mean destroyed 53 car coming from Atlanta. And they did not need that run because the 53 dropped a lot in owner points. Needless to say, for the 66, the car was pretty much killed. I was listening to Carl Long on the radio, and he basically compared the car to chicken soup. After the crash, saying, we're done. This car is like chicken soup. So that pretty much tells you what Carl Long thought. And boy, what a rough year for MBM, man. They've only made 2 races, and they've only finished 1. God, it has been a rough year for MBM. Yeah, like I said, sucks for the 53 team. I mean, not just to crash early, but to absolutely destroy a car. And it's not even Joey's fault. I mean, that's a real shame for that organization. So right out of the gate, 2 laps in, we destroyed 2 underdog cars. But again, it's nobody's fault. You can't help a part failure. It happens. It's just part of the game, unfortunately. We get back going again. And so I'm like, okay, fine, turn off the 66 radio. Fine, I'll turn on Jeffrey Earnhardt's radio. I'm a big fan of Jeffrey Earnhardt, so let's turn on the 44's radio. And I turn their radio on. I'm listening to them throughout the race, and I hear Jeffrey say he's got a right rear tire going down. And I'm like, another one of my underdog picks for good runs was in trouble. And then we come to later find out he wasn't just in trouble, he crashed. I'm not sure if this was the one that the 45 was also involved. No, he was not involved in this one. But the 44, Jeffrey Earnhardt spins around, collects the 26 of Kaz Grala, and unfortunately, nowhere to go for Garrett Smithley. His spotter kind of pointed him in the wrong direction. 4 of Garrett Smithley, his first start with Johnny Davis for the season, is done early. The 26, we're just destroying cars here. I mean, the 44 is banged up badly. The 26 is destroyed. The 4 is destroyed. I mean, we're not 12 laps into this race, and we got 5 underdog cars that are just, they're killed. They are killed. So, and it was just another case of wrong place, wrong time. Just like the first lap crash. Nothing that Jeffrey did wrong. You can't help a tire failure. What are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to control the car at a tire failure at 170 miles per hour? You can't. So you can't blame Jeffrey. You can't blame Kaz. I mean, I guess you could say the only person you can blame is Garrett's spotter for directing him right into the crash. So I feel for Jeffrey, man. He's kind of had a rough start, too, to his full-time tenure at APR this year so far. And another crash that was not needed for the 44s, they fell down in the owner points line, too. Same with the 4. They fell, too. So, and I don't know what NASCAR was doing here. We had all this fluid to clean up, and instead of red flagging this race, we ran 12 laps under caution, which felt like an eternity. I don't know why we didn't just red flag it. We wasted 12 laps for no reason. I still don't understand that. Got back green going again, and then we lost another underdog. Kyle Weatherman appeared to have gotten into the wall. Now, I believe it was under this one where he had contact with the 92 of Josh Williams. I think this was the one. I'm not sure which accident actually the 92 of Josh Williams got into. It might have been this one because because Kyle Weatherman had damage to both sides of his race car. Needless to say, though, the underdog luck for Kyle Weatherman ran out, unfortunately, and the 0-2 was done for the day. It was also under this time that the 92 of Josh Williams. Okay, thank you in the chat. So the 92 hit the 27, who hit the 0-2. That's where Jeb Burton got his damage. So the 27 got hit by the 0-2. How ironic, kind of ex-teammates almost. And the 92 checked up into him. So while the 27 and the 92 under this caution got their cars fixed. We did go back green for one more lap, and then we went under caution again for a piece of debris, which I don't know if they did determine was from the 92 or not. The 27 continued on, but under this fourth caution, I wasn't listening to the 92 radio. I wish I would have, but I guess the 92 had dropped a piece of tape on the track during the caution, and they were directing him to park it. Now, note, it was very cold out, so we know how Bear Bond, does not like to stick in these cold temperatures. When you're sticking that tape of Bear Bond and you're sticking it down to cold, a cold wrap, it's not going to stick. So you kind of saw during some of the pit road shots, they were taking blow torches and trying to warm up the Bear Bond because it just wasn't sticking. And I think that's what we saw here with the 92 as well. I think it was just a case the tape wasn't just sticking. It wasn't because they didn't put it on properly. It just wasn't sticking properly. Needless to say, they lost the piece of tape, told him to park it. And, well, Josh Williams parked it all right. He parked it right there on the finish line, getting out of the car, saluting the fans and the officials, and walking out of the car, literally in style. Arguably one of the coolest damn things I have ever seen. And you guys, if you guys were following my timeline, I said good for him. Good for him, because in my opinion, you know what? Fine. I understand it's in the rule book. You can't interfere with it, but come on, guys. It's a piece of tape. It's a piece of tape. Come on. It's literally a piece of tape. It's not hurting anything at all. It will take a minute to go out there and grab it. So, and then shout out to Noah Lewis. Shout out to Noah Lewis, NASCAR media guy, for getting the incredible video of Josh video saying, they can find me. I can't pay it. And then I love how right as about PRN, I loved when you guys noticed this on the broadcast, right as PRN and Fox were about to do an interview with him, the NASCAR official comes over and pulls him away. I love that. God, just all around, like what a funny mess. I mean, it was a mess, but what a funny mess. And the funny The funny part is that they actually took the car and brought it to the NASCAR hauler. The car was actually parked outside the NASCAR hauler. It was like the old days where they used to confiscate cars. And Josh Williams, he kind of joked after the race saying, he ate some chips, almost had some pizza, almost took a nap. And, I'm glad he didn't, apologize for anything. He stood up for himself. He thought what he did was right. And I don't blame him. I would have done the same thing to an extent. I really would have done the same thing. I don't blame him. And I put out a real tweet that says it true. Josh Williams is about as real as you get when it comes to a race car driver. A good, hardworking man. There's no doubt about it. Josh Williams is the real deal. And I'm glad that tweet blew up because it's 100% true. He really is, and he's a great person. And he's got the best hair in the Xfinity garage. Luckily, BJ's got the best hair in the Cup garage, but Josh Williams, in my opinion, has the best hair in the Xfinity garage. Which I felt bad at the same time because literally right before this thing with Josh happened, they did a whole piece about him and his work with the Children's Hospital. So it's like Josh got his Children's Hospital recognition out there, which was great to see. Obviously, what a lovely guy he does for that. And then he gets this stunt. So it's like the best of both worlds for Josh Williams. He gained 13,000 Twitter followers. His merchandise is flying off his website. All of his sponsors have come out in support of him. So you could easily say that despite getting a suspension, spoiler alert, yes, he did get suspended for a race, that this was arguably the best thing that ever happened to Josh Williams, and in a sense. So, yeah, I've been trying to get Josh on this show for a while. I want to get Josh on the ARCA podcast to discuss his ARCA career. That'd be great to have one day. But Josh Williams made himself a star. And I'm also glad that Lionel Racing is potentially looking into this NASCAR diecast. And what a missed opportunity if it's not made into a diecast. They have a checkers or wreckers division of diecasts. We need to get this diecast made. I will buy one. And I know everyone in the chat, everyone who's going to watch this show, more than likely will buy one as well. So, but yeah, Josh Williams, with the moment of the race, stole the show. After it happened, I physically couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop watching the footage. I didn't even care about the rest of the race at that point. I was watching it just for the sake of watching it, but I just couldn't stop watching all the Josh Williams videos and looking at all the pictures. Just what a savage moment, man. And God, you love it. You love it. That is a Dale Earnhardt thing if I've ever seen one. Gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. So, moving on here, he was parked. Unfortunately, 10 laps later after that, we lost a second Alpha Prime car. Sage Karam was involved. They crashed coming to the end of the stage. It was the 91 of Chad Chastain, and I believe it was the 35 of Patrick Emmerling. Maybe wasn't the best idea to put rookie Chad Chastain in a plate race at Atlanta, of all places, on a cold track with no practice. 91 had a rough race. And I don't really blame the driver as much as I just blame his lack of experience. I don't blame the driver himself, though. It's more of just a lack of experience. I think if he had a couple of plate races under his belt, he would have been a lot better off. But the 45 got some damage, so he was retired early as well. The race kind of kept going. We had our spin outs and crashes and spin outs and crashes. The 35 of Patrick Emmerling spun out 3 times, somehow never hit anything. We had lost the 24, lost a couple more cars, and by then we were down to about 28 cars. And as the track really started to get some heat in it at night, we finally got a long green flag run and 2 green flag plus runs in of 30-plus laps each. The field had kind of gotten spread out. The 91, the 43 were running by themselves. The 2 SS Greenlight Racing cars were running by themselves with the with Emmerling and Burton. And then you kind of have the top 20. So luckily by the end of this race, we had finally been able to get some real racing in. And it still wasn't good, but it wasn't half bad as well. And then we had that, like we all predicted, that late race caution to set us up for a green-white checkered, man. You had all 20. By that point, we had lost a couple more cars. 31 of Parker Retzlaff. I feel for him, man. I feel for him. He's had a tough start to the season. 28 of Kyle Segan, Joe Graf Jr. also had some troubles. I think they just some minor damage on track as well. But got back going, and what do you expect? Last lap crash. Still had some great underdog runs. I will point out, though, before we get to those underdog runs, Anthony Alfredo. We know that the 99 team is shut down, and I would like to apologize to the BJ McLeod Motorsports team. I was told by three sources that they were running old hour cars. They are not. They are not. They are all in-house BJ McLeod entries. So I apologize to that team, and I apologize to you guys for providing the false information. I just think that really goes to show you how impressive the BJ McLeod organization has become. And it's actually, compared to the last couple of years we've seen them, it's great seeing that team actually perform to a good standard. But Anthony himself came out on Twitter saying, for everyone, we are not running old hour cars. This is all our own. To an extent, I want to believe it. I do. And I hope that is the case, because it means that BJ McLeod's team has really stepped it up. Yes, they did get a leased motor for this race, but kind of who didn't? This is kind of the one races where you got to get a leased motor. But I do want to apologize for them. It was great seeing the 78 up front. It was great seeing the 78 lead some laps. I thought at one point 78 team might actually win. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that real quick. They did lead 18 laps in this race. But yeah, going back to the last lap crash, for some strange reason, Daniel Hemrick, you guys know, I'm not the biggest Daniel Hemrick fan, decides we have Parker Kligerman going for the win. And man, that would have been really cool to see Scott Borchetta's team get another win. But Kligerman gets into the 21. Somehow the 21 doesn't lose it. He goes on to win. And the 11 decides to junk. Oh, geez. I just had a bug fall from the ceiling. It scared the crap out of me. Needless to say, we had the 11 junk the 48, and in the process, junk about 6 cars after the flag. So I hope Daniel Hemrick is proud of that, because he tore up a lot of cars for no good reason. Including, and this one pissed me off the most, the 6 of Brennan Poole. That team had ran top 20 the last 50 laps. Brennan Poole and that team were finally having a good run. And, they went across the finish line in one piece and then ran right into, I think they ran into the 48. The 6 had nowhere to go. I just hope, I hope Daniel Hemrick's proud of that, man. It just makes me like him that much lesser. And I just feel for Brennan Poole, man, because after having that great run, they did not need that crash. 2 torn up cars again for JD Motorsports, despite a great 13th place finish. Other great underdog runs, Brett Moffitt in the 25. Great to see, hometown Iowa boy getting another top 10 finish. We also had Ryan Segan 11th, Brennan Poole in 13th. Anthony Alfredo was 14th. Jeremy Clements was 15th. Give a shout out to Jeb Burton. With all the damage he had, he was still running at one point inside the top 5. They just, I think it just came down to late race damage. Nobody wanted to work with him. And Patrick Emmerling, despite being involved in like 3 or 4 crashes, the 35 came home clean in 18th. And the SS Greenlight cars finally had a halfway decent run for once in 20th and 22nd. Yeah, the Atlanta race, in my opinion, was no good. Really was not so good, in my opinion. So kind of just want to get away from that race as possible. Now, of course, the post-race penalties. 92 of Josh Williams being suspended for a race. Spoiler, Alex Labay will replace him this weekend. Great choice. And if there's one person to replace him, it's Alex Labay. And other changes, the 07, Blaine Perkins and Bobby Daughter's team have parted ways mutually. Now, notably, the 07 this year had made every race, had not failed to qualify, but had not run good. The 07 was not running well at all, even with the sponsorship. And sometimes, you just gotta, sometimes you realize if it's not a great fit, you got to go somewhere else. So The 07 team, they have parted ways. And spoiler alert, Carson Hocevar, who is scheduled to make some starts later for Spire. This is not a Spire-affiliated entry. This is a full setup from SS Greenlight Racing. Will be driving the 07 this weekend. So best of luck to Blaine Perkins for finding another ride. But we weren't seeing anything special out of him. I like Blaine, but, kind of the same thing we saw last year in his truck year for CR7. Just slow. Very, very slow. But yes, moving on from there, we move on to COTA. And like we've predicted every year, COTA seems to bring a big entry list. We have 42 cars for 38 spots. A lot of road ringers in the field for underdog organizations. We're going to start from the top. Of course, Carson Hocevar in the 07 for Bobby Dotter. We got a wild card entry, the 17 from Rick Hendrick. Don't really know why they need to run, but they are. We got Parker Chase in the 35 for Emmerling Gase. Little bit of a change at Alpha Prime Racing. I'll get to that in a second when we talk about owner points. Sage Karam is in the 44. Jeffrey Earnhardt is in the 45. Preston Pardis. Yes, you guys remember Preston Pardis. He's ran the last couple years for DGM, but he is back with his own organization, simply just Pardis Racing, with his father, Dan. They are back with the number 50. I think mainly because the number 43 was taken. That was the number they ran back in 2019 when they were running for themselves. So I guess 50 was one of the few numbers available, so they just went with that. Brad Perez, if you guys remember Brad Perez, who ran some truck races and Xfinity races last year for Emmerling Gase and Josh Rayom. He's in the 53. Cameron Lawrence, great pickup for MBM Motorsports. Cameron Lawrence, Rolex 24 winner, Trans Am champion. Notable Baltazar Lesguzman. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. I'm not the best with pronouncing names. He was originally supposed to drive the 66, but due to a sponsor issue or lack of sponsorship, was taken out of the 66. But he is back again, still driving the 74 for Mike Harmon. Then, of course, we got Anthony Alfredo in the 78. Miguel Paludo, he's back for his road course races in the 88 for Junior. Josh Balicki in the 91. And, of course, Alex LeBay in the 92 for just this one race. Again, 42 cars. Jeffrey Earnhardt, not the best on the road courses. So I will say a very smart move by Alpha Prime Racing, because right now the 44 Alpha Prime car is the lowest one in points, 34th. So, and the 45 is up there in 24th. That car is locked in. So smart move by putting Jeffrey Earnhardt there in the 45, knowing if he can't get it in the top 33, that they will be safe on a provisional. And putting in their best road course guy in Sage Karam, who will more than likely be easily able to get that 44 inside the top 33 as well. Same good call for the 91. The 91 of DGM's been kind of struggling, 33rd right now. So good call for them to get Josh in. The cars, again, I am a little concerned about. The 74, of course, the 66, of course, just for their lack of points. Carson Hocevar is a good road racer, qualified top 10 last couple years in the truck series. But the 07, it's a different bet, it's a different kind of car. Garrett Smithley for JD, they're down in 36. The 53's early crash last week dropped them down to 35th. I think the 44 and the 91 will be just fine. Gray Galding's also a good road racer, so I think he'll be fine as well. He got the Jimmy Means car in the show on time back in 2021, so like I said, I think he'll be just fine. And Parker Chase, also a decent road racer. I think he'll be okay as well. And even the 50 team, the 50 team coming in with no owner points. But if you're just coming in for a one-off, you got to imagine that the 50 team, oh, yeah, the 08, my God. This is the problem. Racing Reference does not update their entry lists. Eric Amarola is in the 08. I'm sorry, guys. I went on Racing Reference right now, and it still has Gray Galding listed. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that screw-up. Racing Reference, not where they used to be, and they still haven't updated the entry list. Eric Amarola is returning to the Xfinity Series for the first time in how long? He'll be driving the 08. So I apologize for that. Racing Reference has got to update their stuff. So sorry. Gray Golding, this was a previous arrangement that Gray had talked about on Twitter, that this was not a breach of contract or not a breach. It was just simply a previous arrangement that they had made at the start of the year. So sorry about that. A lot of people say that the 66 will go home and the 74. You got to remember, guys, last year, the 52 and the 47, Mike Harmon and Jimmy Means Racing missed this race last year by less than a tenth. And that's because they had road ringers in the car. And it's the one thing that I will say about this track is you don't necessarily need a 100% perfect road course car if you can get the right driver in there. You look at Brennan Poole and Gar Robinson last year for Mike Harmon and Jimmy Means. Those cars were very slow, but with the right driver in there, they nearly got both of those cars in the show. Literally less than a tenth. They missed the race out on. And finding a 10th at a track like COTA is very easy to make up, but it's also very easy to lose. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that cars like the 66, cars like the 74 could potentially time their way in. I mean, like I said, Cameron Lawrence, he's been around COTA multiple times in sports cars, Trans Am cars. He's got he got the 33 truck for Rayoma top 10 starting spot back in 2021. So for everyone who's saying like the 66 is going home, I don't see it. Carl really hit a home run getting that driver. And one thing we'll talk about, MBM was supposed to run the Cup race. We'll get to that in our Cup previews. But yes, MBM was supposed to run the Cup race. I think the 50 will be just fine, even with no owner points. Preston's a very good road racer. Even with Baltazar, I don't see him making it, but I don't see him being that slow. I think Baltazar will give the 74 its best shot, but I don't think he's still going to make it. For Brad Perez, I don't know, man. Unfortunately, I'm putting Brad Perez on my DNQ list. I think that his teammate, the 35, will be fine because he has provisionals if needed, and Parker's is an okay road racer. But I'm taking the 74, the 53, the 4 of Garrett Smithley. Garrett really hasn't been the best in the road races, so I'm picking him as my third DNQ. And I'm actually going to take the 07. If not the 07, then put in the 43 as my other DNQs. So the 74, the 53, 74, 53, 4, and either the 43 or the 07. Like I said, I don't know what this race is going to bring, but we will see some very, very interesting, very, very interesting DNQs, I think. And it's all about getting a clean lap. Like I said, even I would not count out Baltazar. I would not count him out. I think the 66 is okay. Carl, like I said, he really hit a home run there. And you never know, but you never know as well. The 17 and the 50 and the 88. That is true what people are saying in the chat. Technically right now, they could miss the race. That is true. If the 88 of Miguel Paludo has a mechanical issue or crashes in his qualifying run, he goes home. He does. There's no points. The 17, he goes home too. If he crashes or breaks on his qualifying run, he'll go home as well. Same thing with the 50. So it is also not out of the realm of possibility that we could see the 17, 50, and 88 go home, although I think it's highly unlikely, but stranger things have happened. Now, going into this race, the top 30 10K bonus, the 43 Alpha Prime entry currently holds it by just 2 points over the 35. So both Emerling Gase cars, both SS Greenlight cars are out, and both JDM cars are outside the top 30. And it's kind of the same thing I said last year for Mike Harmon that they had fallen so far behind in owner points that it really wasn't even about the top 30 10K bonus. It was more of just about making races. Unfortunately, I would say both MBM and Mike Harmon have again fallen into that. The 66 and the 74 are so far down the owner points list. Right now, the 66 is 20 points behind the next car in front in points. And I'm not saying that gap is unrecoverable, but it's almost at the stage where they're not even focusing on the top 30 10K bonus. I would say the 66 really should just focusing on making races at this point. And if we do get to that top 30 again, then we can focus on that. But for now, let's just start getting into the show. Same with the 74 as well. Now, again, and I doubt the 17 or the 88 will go home. I'm sure they have plenty of speed, but you never know. If they break down before they finish their laps or they blow an engine in practice, they are done. They are going home. So we never know what could happen. We never know. But yeah, those are my DNQ picks. If you want me to give a race-winning pick, give another race-winning pick, I'm actually going to go with, unfortunately, Ty Gibbs is in the field, but I'm actually going to go with Sammy Smith. He's run on the Trans Am circuit quite a bit before he came to the Xfinity Series. He's a very good road racer. So I'm actually going to go with Sammy Smith as my pick. I know a lot of people are going to take AJ Allmendinger, but I'm going to go with the hometown boy, another hometown Iowa guy, and Sammy Smith as my pick to win. My underdog winners pick, let's go with I don't want to go with Kaz Grall again because I picked him for the trucks. Let's go with Sam Mayer for my underdog winners pick. Even though he's driving for a high-tier team, Sam Mayer needs a good run. So that's Xfinity, Atlanta, and COTA. So now we move on to Cup. The Cup Series at Atlanta. And what else can I kind of say about it? Not much happened compared to the Xfinity race and truck race. Not much happened. I can really just fast forward to the big accident on lap 190. Nothing really happened. For the backmarkers, BJ, who spun around in practice or qualifying because the track was dirty as hell. Can't really blame him. The track was so dirty, no way he could hold it. Luckily, no damage to the car. But yeah, kind of can just fast forward through the Cup race because, like I said, for the backmarkers, not much happened. Lap 189, I guess we can just fast forward right to it because, like I said, there's not much to report on. Lap 189, BJ and a lot of other guys were involved in a big crash, kind of a big one, when the 4 and the 1 made I would say just the slightest bit of contact, if not just the slightest nudge, and then the air kind of sucked around the 4 car. Created a big one by Atlanta standards. The 78 was wiped up in it. BJ pretty heavily damaged for a next-gen car. BJ took a couple of good hits there. He was kind of knocked out. The 2 Rick Ware cars both survived, Yaley and Cody. They both made it through. Same thing with the 77. It was the first time, one of the first times this season that the 77 actually outran all 3. The 15, the 51, and the 78 outran them all again for 2 weeks in a row. Ty Dillon finishes 23rd. Cody Ware finishes 25th. 26th for Yaley. So a decent day for Rick Ware Racing, you call it. A decent day for Rick Ware Racing. But yeah, for BJ McLeod team, I don't want to see this happening to them. 2 straight last place finishes. Hate seeing that because this move to Chevrolet has obviously improved their overall speed. And I don't want to see this bad luck continue to happen. Other underdogs that had a decent run, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 17th, good run for him. Todd Gilliland, 15th, good run for him as well. And our favorite underdog, Corey LaJoie, man. God, I love Corey, man. We need to get this guy a better ride. We need to get Corey LaJoie a top-tier ride. He is 14th in the standings in a full Spire car. And then you look at the 77. It is night and day when you look at the 7 and the 77. And it makes you wonder, if they did not have the 77 car, would Spire run even better? Would they? I think they would. I don't see the need for the 77 car at this point. I really don't. Sell the charter, take the money, put it into that 7 car, and you might have yourself, I would say, a JTG top 20, top 10 caliber organization weekly rather than running 28th weekly. So it was just so good to see Corey up there again, getting Celsius some good TV time. Really, really great to see Corey. Well-deserved top 5 finish. And like I said, is sitting 14th right now in the point standings. Very impressive. Cup Series points following Atlanta. Like I said, the owner points and the all-important top 33 charter battle, which we are currently following right now. After 5 races, again, they are not all dropped down to the top 33 charter battle, but eventually these guys will be fighting for the charter battle. But it does make you wonder. Justin Haley's 31 car is still negative 25. Right now, the 15 Rick Ware car has 61 points, and that could really come into play. I think the 9 car will still catch them by the end of within a couple of, by about halfway through the season. But without a win, right now with the 15 being ahead of the 31 car by 86 points, can the 31 gain 86 points throughout the rest of this year to catch that 15 car potentially for the top 33 charter battle? Because right now the 15 is still the highest. He holds, I guess the car holds 11 points over the 51. They hold a 19-point gap over the 77. They continue to gradually get ever so closer to the Rick Ware cars. And the 78 has unfortunately fallen behind them now as the third lowest. Technically should be the lowest, but because of the penalties, he's third lowest full-time car in 35th. So, yeah, for the Rick Ware cars, the 51 still has some work to do to catch its teammate. But right now, the 15 of Rick Ware Racing really needs to be, I guess, the primary focus. Because if they want to save their charter for next year, they got to keep at least one car inside that top 33. And right now, 5 races in, they are doing just that. They are indeed doing just that. So that was Cup Atlanta. And now let's get into, I know what you're all looking forward to, Cup COTA. And boy, again, big race right here, guys. 39 cars. But as you guys heard me mention in the Xfinity column, yes, MBM Motorsports was supposed to run this race. Thanks to some kind words from Carl Long, MBM Motorsports was supposed to run this race with Cameron Lawrence. Unfortunately, one of Cameron's backers, or I'm not sure if it was Cameron's backers, something backed out, which unfortunately couldn't cause them to keep Cameron in the Cup car. And unfortunately, they had to put them in the 66 Xfinity car. But I still think either way, Cameron is going to have a good run. But interesting to note, we almost had our first 40-car field had the 66 not had its sponsorship issues. But nonetheless, we still got 39 cars. Kimi Räikkönen, that young upstart in NASCAR. F1 fans are going to get mad at me for that joke. But yeah, good to see Kimi back. Oh, he did a great job last year at Watkins Glen for his first Cup start, so it's great to see Kimi back. Jimmy Johnson in the 84 and Connor Daly in the 50. Those are our open entries. For the underdogs, we got Josh Bilicki will be making his first Cup start of the year in the Live Fest 78. And Jenson Button, former Formula One F champion, will be driving the 15 for Rick Ware. I would expect it, of course, to be a SHR affiliated entry. God, what a stacked field. I mean, Kimi Räikkönen, Connor Daly, and Cody Ware all in the same field. I mean, Kimi Räikkönen and Cody Ware in the same field. What? Isn't that awesome? Kimi Räikkönen and Cody Ware in the same field yet again. Oh, you got to love it. Yes, I'm kidding. I know. That's just I wanted to get your guys' reaction for that. It's great to see all these guys out of here again. Great to see. Now that we got more and more parts with these next-gen cars out, these teams can finally start rolling out more open cars. Hopefully the 91 will see at more races this year than just the road courses. Obviously, the sponsorship will be importantly needed. I will say, though, Jimmy Johnson has never really been the best on the road courses that we have seen. Really struggled in his IndyCar career on the road courses, and overall was never the best road course racer for even driving in Hendrick cars. Was never the best on the road courses. So I will honestly say I'm skeptical at how the 84 will do this weekend for sure. I don't think he's going to run as well as people think he will. I genuinely don't. I think we're actually going to see Jimmy struggle. I really do. I think we're going to see the 84 struggle this weekend. The 50 car, again, the money team racing, they didn't run that well at Daytona because their car honestly was not prepped well for Daytona. They really needed practice. Luckily, they will have practice here at COTA. So I think the 50 will be a lot better off than they were at Daytona, and I think Connor Daly will give that car a good run as well. Sucks not to see Team Heseberg. Really loved that team last year with Loris Hesemans and Daniel Kvyat. Sucks to not see them. I mean, heck, if we had those two in, we would have had a DNQ, which, God, I mean, Cup races with a DNQ at a non-plate race would have been the first time since 2018 since we had that. But yeah, guys like Jensen Button here, Jensen Button and Kimi Räikkönen, I mean, those are winning race cars. Those are easily winning race cars. It's such a wild card field. Jordan Taylor, Rodney Sandstorm, he finally makes his NASCAR debut. And what a ride for him to debut. I mean, you talk about elite equipment. So it's just what a stacked field. What a race this is going to be. Probably one of the top watched Cup races of the year. I would expect you're going to have a lot of Formula One fans who are going to watch this race just to see how Kimi and Jensen do. But again, like I talked about in the truck race and Xfinity race, it's awesome to see so many former open-wheel drivers come over to NASCAR and test their hands, even if it's just for a one-off. Really, really fun to see. Of course, want me to give an underdog pick? Underdog pick is simple. My underdog pick is Kimi Räikkönen. My race-winning pick, I'm actually, and this might be come a little shocker. My race-winning pick will actually be the number 9. I think Jordan Taylor, I mean, you're in probably one of the best cars in the garage. You're one of the best road racers. You have been around COTA many, many times in a sports car. So Rodney Sandstorm, Jordan Taylor is my pick to win this weekend at COTA. And my underdog pick is the 91 of Kimi. So I don't blame you guys in the chat for picking AJ Allmendinger. I mean, I could pick him too, and maybe even Ross Chastain. Maybe in Ross Chastain, he won last year. So, like I said, though, for the underdogs, though, for Ty Dillon, this is an opportunity race for the 78 team to gain points. With how good Josh Bilicki is on the road courses, they need to gain points in this race. For the 15, it is a huge opportunity to extend the lead over the 77, the 51, and the 78 with Jensen behind the wheel. Cody, I think Cody might struggle. He's not had the best year since Daytona so far. I would predict he'll probably struggle again. He's a little bit better on the road courses in the last couple of years, that's for sure, though. But yeah, it's still going to be a fun race, guys. Obviously, the underdogs are going to be all over the place this weekend, but I really think we're in line to see some wild cars running up front like we usually do at some of these road courses. And it's going to be a lot of fun, guys, and it all starts tomorrow. We find out who makes the truck race and Xfinity race tomorrow, and you can follow live on Twitter with me on that. I don't think they're going to be broadcasted live for some reason. I think they're all going to be tape delayed, but still follow along on the app, of course, so you guys can see who makes a show and who doesn't. But it'll be interesting to see for sure, and it'll be a fun weekend. So, man, an hour and 4 minutes. I thank all of you guys who have kept up going with me live. But it is time to, unfortunately, end the show. So, again, I thank you guys for your continued support of Backmarker Battles. Glad to see that this show has become as popular as it has been, with people wanting to talk about Backmarker Battles, DNQ picks, and just love to talk about lower budget teams. Obviously, if you guys missed last night's show, didn't have a lot of people for last night's show, but go ahead and check it out. Our ARCA East Pensacola preview. Please go give that a check out. And of course, like and subscribe to the channel. If you're not, all you got to do is go down and hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell for all notifications. And yeah, we'll be back for next week's live ARCA Racing Podcast Pensacola review and our COTA review and our Richmond preview. And I also got some very awesome news to share with you guys this coming Monday. I got a big announcement for my next racing plans this Monday. So till Monday, till next week, you guys have a great rest of your Thursday night and a great weekend overall. I hope you guys enjoy the COTA races. And yeah, thanks for tuning in with me tonight. Have a great rest of your night. Colby Evans, Start and Park Car, signing off. So long, guys.